Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Hi everybody, it's Doreen, and I'm back today with a birthday card that I've made for my son. Today we'll be using the From My Kitchen cartridge and the Lacey Labels cartridge. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. Okay everybody, so let's go ahead and bring up the supplies so we can get started making this card. Now, let's see, the card measures 6 1/4 by 11, and I've taken it and scored it in half to make it a 6 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. Now, I got this idea actually to make this card from another YouTuber, and I'm going to put the name and her video up here in the corner as soon as I remember what it is. And actually with hers, I think she took and made it actually like a recipe card book, but mine is just going to be a card with a little twist in the inside. So now for my top layer measures 6 inches by 5 inches, and this cardstock is from the DCWV, the Natural Stack, and I like this paper stack because it has some male or masculine paper in there. So let's go ahead, since I'm not adding any ribbon, we can go ahead and tape this down. So I've got my ATG gun, and we're going to get some tape on the back of here, and we'll get our tape along our edges, and then we'll get some tape down in the middle. And then we can go ahead and add this to the card. The other thing that I've done is I've gone ahead and taken my Zutter corner chomper, because it happens to be a 1/2 inch, and I've chomped around on my corners of the card as well as the top layer. And also I've gone ahead and inked my edges of my card using the Tim Holtz gathered twigs. So now we can just go ahead, and I'm going to open this up, and we're going to lay this down like so. And I'll make sure I get on my edges there so I can make sure that it's adhered properly. So now let's go ahead and put the embellishments together. So the cartridge that we're using is From My Kitchen, and I chose this because my son is a chef at a restaurant, and he also does some catering on the side as well. So what I've done is, this is the jar, and the jar is on page, let's see, 56. So let's go to page 56. And it actually comes as 2 jars. But what I done is I only wanted the 1 jar. So what you'll have to do to make this work for you is, if you're using your Cricut, you shouldn't have a problem, because you can just go ahead, cut out the shadow blackout, and then put your slits, which are right here, to put in your utensils if you're using the Cricut. But if you're using the Gypsy, or even if you're using the I think it's My Craft Room software on the internet, you can use the hide and contour as well, and it sort of works just like the Gypsy. So what I did, because I wanted those slits in there and I didn't want to have to figure out how to cut them or measure them, and I knew I could do this on my Gypsy, is we'll go ahead and go to the jar. And the jar is key number 29, and it looks like this. And as I said, it comes as 2 jars. When you cut them, they cut separately. So I went ahead and just hid everything like so. And that way I just got my 2 slits. But like I said, if you wanted to, you could just go ahead and cut the blackout shadow and then just take your X-Acto knife and cut slits in the center here, or 2 slits to put your utensils in. So now that was cut at, and I did have to take my aspect ratio off for this because I wanted to make sure that this fit within the card. So I'm going to have to read my notes to see what my measurements were. Or I could have looked on my Gypsy as well. But the height is 5 1/4 or 5.24, and the width was 6.98. And as I said before, I did take the aspect ratio off in order to get that measurement. And I've gone ahead and inked my edges using the gathered twig. And this cardstock, I've had this for years as well. This is some cardstock that I got from work that they were throwing out. I don't even remember what we used this for. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put our utensils inside this little jar. So the sizes that I cut each one. For the rolling pin, and the rolling pin is on page 46. So we'll go to page 46. And this is the rolling pin. So I've cut out the rolling pin, and then it says the rolling pin S, which means you're going to hit your shift key and then cut this out as well. And this was cut out at 0.99 for the width and 4.22 for the height. And I took the aspect ratio off again to do that. And that is key number 19. And it looks like this. So you'll cut that out, and then you'll hit your shift key and then hit key 19 again, because that's going to be the top of your rolling pin. So that's our rolling pin. Now our whisk. The whisk was cut out at 1.43 for the width and 4.02 for the height. And the whisk is on page 42, and it looks like this. So then the other thing that I cut out was the spoon. And the spoon is cut at 1.21 for the width and 4.06 for the height. And the spoon is on page 43, and it looks like this. Now, your key on your Gypsy is key number 16. And there's your spoon. And then the last thing I cut out was the spatula. And the spatula was cut out at 1.24 for the width and 4.33 for the height. And the spatula is on page 44. And it looks like this. And I'm not sure. Oh, I think I see why they have 2 here. And that's so that if you want to have an overlay, I guess. I guess that's what that's for. But I just cut just the spatula, and that's key number 17. And it looks like that. Okay, so now that I've given you all the sizes, we're going to go ahead and put everything inside our jar. So I'm going to get my jar here, and I'm going to slide my rolling pin inside here. And it's going to be just a little tight, but you can squeeze it in there. So I've got my rolling pin, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my whisk, and I'm going to put that in there off to the corner there. Then I'm going to add my spoon and just slide that down inside there like so. And then the last thing we'll add is the spatula. And we'll put that in off to the side here. And I think I'm going to slide the spoon down just a little bit more than the spatula. Then I want to just lay this down so I can see how this looks. So I think I'm going to move the spatula over and put the spatula next to the whisk. And have it like that. Okay, so now I've got them where I want them. So to make sure they stay down, I'm just going to run some tape across the back so that I can make sure they stay down flat. So I'm going to put tape across here, and then some tape across there, and then maybe one more piece across there. So there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up. So, or I might lay this flat. I think I'm going to lay this flat because I do have something I'm adding on top of here. So let's go ahead and get some tape on here. And I'm just going to use my combo. Get tape across there. And then I'm just going to lay that right down on my card like so. Okay, so now I'm ready to add my labels that I have for right here. So now the labels are from the Lacey Labels Cricut Light cartridge. And they look like this. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've used label number 5, which is this one right here. And I took them and cut them out, but I rotated them on my Gypsy. And actually I didn't have to, but I decided to go ahead and rotate them because I wanted to see how that was going to look. So the first one, I've used the same cardstock, the DCWV. And that was cut at 2 1/4 inches. And I'm going to have that one lay there. And then I've cut another one which is at 2 inches. And if you're using your Gypsy, this is going to be key number 5. So let's go ahead and bring up that cartridge. Lacey Labels, and it's key number 5. And as I said, it cuts that way. But I just took it and went to my Advanced tab and I rotated it this way. And the reason why I did that is because I had my card front right here, and I wanted to put that on there to see how that was going to look in the center of the jar. And I'm going to zoom in here just so you can see what I mean by that. Okay, so this is the front of my card, and I wanted that label to go right there, so I just took it and rotated it so I could see what it would look like. Okay, so now, zoom back here. And this I'm going to have pop up. So what I'm going to do is just take this one and go ahead and tape it down. And I'm just going to use the Tombow adhesive for that. And we'll lay that down right there in the center. And then before I add my top layer, what I've also gone and cut out is the words "from the kitchen." And this is, once again, from the kitchen, from my kitchen cartridge. And it is page 28, and it is right here, and it says "from the kitchen." So now what you'll do with this is, if you're doing this actually on your Cricut or your Gypsy, you're going to hit the words button, the shift button, and then key number 1. And then you'll get "from the kitchen." And I cut that out at 1.5 inches. So I cut it out in some of the cardstock, the same cardstock that I've used for the jar. And then what I did is gone ahead and inked it with the gathered twigs. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here, and I'm going to use my 2-way zig pen to put this on. So I'm just going to go ahead and just dot all the way around a little bit so I get some glue on there. And then I'll take my tweezers and just line this up on here. And I've gone ahead also and inked the edges of the label as well with the gathered twigs. So now that we've got that on there, I'm just going to take some dimensionals and go ahead and pop this up. So let me get a dimensional, and I'm just going to put one in each corner. And then we'll take the tape backing off and add it to the card. So let's see if we can get these off very quickly. And I think I'm going to try that technique as soon as I find what I did with my embossing buddy that Julie Walters recommended for getting the tape backing off of your dimensionals, and because sometimes they stick to you. She recommended you run your embossing buddy across them first and then remove the tape backing. So I'm going to try that the next time. So there, now I've got that on there. So now the last thing I want to add on the front of the card, no bling on this card because it's for my son, is I've gone ahead and cut out this little cutting board. And I've taken my, sorry for the reach, Cricut pens to spell out the word "Happy Birthday." So now I do have a tutorial out there on how to use the Cricut pens, and I'll put that link up here somewhere. I'm not going to go into detail in this video on how to do that. So the cutting board is on page 45, and it looks like this. And what I've gone ahead and done is I've cut out the shadow blackout. And I cut that out. The width is 1.46 and the height is 2.30. And I had to cut it at that size because I wanted to have enough room for it to fit on my card right here. So I once again took the front of the card on my Gypsy and I just kept squeezing this. I started out at 3 inches and I just started squeezing it down until I got it to fit within the size of my card. So I'm going to put that right there, and I want that to pop up as well. And I've also gone ahead and inked the edges using the gathered twig. So I'm going to go ahead and add some dimensionals for this as well. And I think I'll just put 3 on there, like so. And we'll take the backing off. these as well. And then we can go ahead and add it to the card. So I'm going to just slide that and put it right there. So now, what I've done different in the inside, as I said before, the video that I did watch on YouTube, she took and made hers so that it had a little pocket here for recipe cards. Well, I've decided to go ahead and actually use the recipe card, but I put a special sentiment in there that using the recipe card, and it basically says recipe of our son. And I've just put a little sentiment that says 1 cup of respectfulness, 1 cup of joy, 1 cup of growing from a boy into a man, 1 cup of love in his heart, 1 cup of laughter every day, 1 cup of happiness in every way. Stir it all together and we have a son of pure delight. And then I've just signed it, love always, Mom and Dad. So that's what I'm going to put in the inside of mine for the sentiment. So I used the From My Kitchen cartridge once again to cut out a recipe card. And I'm going to go to that cartridge again and pull up that recipe card. Let's see, that was cut at 3 inches, and it is on page 63. So it looks like this, except I cut out the center tab. So what you'll do is you'll hit the tab, and then you're going to hit key 36, and it looks like so. And then I went ahead and inked my edges with the gathered twigs. And then I took my marker, the Twin Touch, and I drew my lines. I initially started trying to draw them by hand. I don't know why I thought I could do that. I guess it's because I don't like to measure anything. So then I took a ruler and drew my lines and wrote my wording. So we'll go ahead and just take the Tombow and get some tape on there, and then, oh, I didn't mean to get tape on the card as well. I may have to take my adhesive remover and remove that tape I just got on the card. Okay, there we go. And then I'm just going to place it right here in the center. And that's it. So no bling on this one, but this is my card that I've made for my son for his birthday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.